let's talk about main topic number 3. And it's interesting that this topic should come up because Jody Smith asked earlier, did not know that we were going to be talking about this. This is not in the description. This was not in the title. I mean, if this is a separate video because I cut these up, then yes, you are aware of what we're talking about. But she didn't know this, and she asked, I keep hearing and seeing AMC is going to do bankruptcy. And I think that's interesting that she should mention that, because one of the stories that we have is this article from the Motley Fool saying 3 reasons to sell AMC Entertainment Holdings stocks. Now, first of all, a little context from my end. I love movies. And by the way, AMC Stubs A-List is one of the greatest things that happened to movies in a long time.
I have it too. I've had it since I canceled Movie Pass. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. But I think AMC, even though you can't see a movie every single day, is better because it's like, oh, you mean you're throwing in the 3D and the IMAX and the Dolby, and I collect points so I can get $5 certificates off the concessions?
Yeah.
Like, great. And so I will take it very, very, very personally if AMC goes under. Also, I do have 100 shares of stock, and I am not going to be selling the stock. I'm going to be defying this this guy's suggestion. I'm going to tell you why. And then but yeah, basically AMC, awesome. You get the AMC Stubs A-List, but they have been hit hard, like all movie theaters have been hit hard, because they can't open their business. And, that's why a lot of restaurants close, because it's like, hey, you stop generating revenue for a few months and, you're in trouble. But I'm still optimistic that AMC would pull out of this okay. I don't buy for 1 second. Well, I might be getting ahead of myself. Let's look at the 3 reasons why Will Ebifung, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, thinks you should get rid of your AMC stock. Do you have AMC stock?
I do not.
You do not. Okay, so I do. But anyway, first argument, weak fundamentals. AMC Entertainment reported first quarter earnings on June 9th, and the results leave much to be desired. The company closed U.S. theaters on March 17th after closing some European theaters in February, and revenue fell 22% for the quarter from $1.2 billion to $945.5 million. The company also reported a massive $1.85 billion non-cash impairment charge as it wrote down the value of its theaters and businesses reporting segments, expanding its net loss to $130.2 million to $2.18 billion year over year. Long story short, basically, AMC Entertainment lost $2.18 billion this last quarter. And here's my response to that, and then I want to know what your response is. First of all, that's kind of a duh. I mean, they went from making money to making nothing. It doesn't matter what they're making. They went to making nothing.
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be a huge loss, and it's not their fault. So, but the other weak thing is, like, a lot of companies basically went to making zero money, and some of them I don't see people writing articles about how they're going out of business. I don't see them writing articles that casinos are going to go out of business because their revenue dropped to basically nothing either, or sports arenas, because sports arenas have to have concerts and stuff throughout the year to generate money. They're not making anything. Heck, I think many of them have been repurposed for hospitals now, emergency hospitals, for that overflow that never came but might come. So I don't know. What do you think about this argument? Do you think this is a good argument for why AMC is going to go bust?
I hope it doesn't. I mean, much like you, I'm going to stay on the positive. I mean, number one, being an AMC A-Stubs guy, I love it. I do love movies myself. That's why I get it. That's why I had Movie Pass when it was still good, like yourself. I don't want to see them go out. I'm hoping that, maybe through loans or some way they can just, manage to pull through. Will they be as profitable as they were like 4 months ago anytime this year? Probably not.
No.
I would say definitely not, in my opinion. At least probably not. It's not looking likely. Not until, I don't know, maybe the end of next year, if not more. And that all, has to do with like how quickly they're coming with the vaccine, and even when the vaccine is here, how quickly can they get it to everybody? So it's going to be a big deal. This thing's affecting the economy for a while. So I don't think I'm gonna buy any AMC stock yet, actually. But on a like somewhat just a little bit of a sidetrack here, if I may.
Sure.
I don't think I'm going to buy any more new stocks, at least for the next like week or so. The reason being is because we seem to be seeing a lot of like spiking in the cases again, and so I think there's a high potential for a second wave, therefore making it possible. I wouldn't say there's potential, but at least possible that there might be a second lockdown, or at least somewhat of a reclosure. And then, the market will go again. So I'm kind of waiting to see what happens.
Right. Well, interesting, because that's their second complaint, the possible resurgence of the C virus. Now, I don't need to read this because you summarized it. The cases are spiking. I fully believe a lot of it, by the way, is because of the protests. I'm sorry. I know why we were upset. I'm not saying you were wrong to protest, but this was what was probably going to happen. I don't think the resurgence of the C virus is going to do much, because here's the thing. I think, and it's not just President Trump, it's a lot, and I mean a lot of governors in states that are basically like, we cannot afford to do this again. We can't afford to do this again. Like, we might have to temper how the businesses run. We might have to put limitations on it again, but we are not shutting down the economy again. They just won't do it. But that does still raise the possibility, like, what if they do that? Like, what if they go to the theaters and say, hey, we're not recommending more than 10 people in a room together? Well, it's not even worth it at that point, unless the theaters basically require like every person to buy a soda and a popcorn, which, hey, you know what? I'm probably going to be doing that anyway. I don't buy too many snacks, but when the theaters reopen, hey, I will gladly buy some snacks to help them out. But people do resent being told to buy snacks, and I don't know. So the second wave could be a factor, but I don't think, I mean, even our, like, because we're in California. Well, you're in Oregon right now, right?
No, I'm in LA. I'm based in LA.
You're in LA. Okay, so we're in LA. I even get the sense that Governor Newsom isn't too keen on shutting things down again.
Probably not, at least not since he just reopened it. But I don't know if you noticed, Beijing shut down again.
Well, Beijing,
because of the protests, but even there they spiked too without protests.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting because the article that I had read, and maybe it changed, but when I read the article about them shutting down, it's because like 3 new cases were discovered. So, and I don't know if that means like 2 different. I really should have read the article more closely. Was that 3 new virus strands? I mean, 3 cases doesn't seem like much, but yeah, they did shut down again. And, but the thing is, for lack of a better word, Americans will not let that happen. I think the shutdown, for all intents and purposes, is over. So the second reason, just for that reason, I don't think it's going to be the case. Now, the third reason is frankly not a good one, because it's been here for years, but competition from streaming platforms. Like, one of the things I mentioned is like the Trolls World release looks like a bad omen for movie theaters. The pandemic is accelerating a negative trend that has been going on for almost 2 decades. And basically the whole thing, like, like it's easier to watch movies at home. Now, here's the thing. I actually one of the few people who saw Trolls World Tour in a theater. Me and my wife got in a car. We went to the Mission Tiki Drive-In Theater, and we watched a new movie during the pandemic at a drive-in theater. I could have rented it for $20 for 24 hours, but I'd rather have spent that $19 at a theater. So, but the thing is, and I tell people, and now we're kind of sidetracking a little on this one, but Trolls World Tour did make like over $100 million, but that's not really anything to brag about. Right. That's when you had everyone on lockdown and everybody starving for entertainment. Everyone, this is their only option, and you couldn't make more than $100 million. And that was, by the way, after a couple of weeks. That wasn't even the first weekend. So I don't think that was like a great victory by any means. But the bigger thing is, yeah, there's competition from streaming, but has watching sports on TV ever convinced people not to go to a sports game? And for that matter, as we start to slowly reopen, and we look at like the beaches and everything, people want to get out of the house. They just want to get out of the house. So I actually think people will flock back to the theaters, personally. But what do you think about that one?
Maybe not, but probably not as much anytime soon. That's the thing, and for two reasons. Well, number one is the businesses are supposed to, quote, I'm saying bunny rabbit quotes, supposed to be adhering to these guidelines. I don't know if you've read this, but they did like a survey of 2,000 restaurants in LA, and they found that at least half of them were not adhering to any of the guidelines. There's no masks, people really close to each other, whatever. Yeah. So, but for the ones that are, at least half of them are, reducing capacity. And like, say, for example, like a barber shop that would normally have 8 chairs, they're, going down to 4 to keep people away. So for that reason, it's going to be difficult because they can't have as many butts in the chairs, AMC or restaurants or, most of these businesses, as I'm saying. The second reason, though, even if you're, let's go with your view that you think there's not going to be a second shutdown, and that's over. Even if it's that way, let's just assume it's not going to shut down again. The problem is, what is definitely happening, we know, is the coronavirus is spiking again, and there's probably going to be a second wave. Now, even though they're able to now, there's a lot of people that, yes, are flocking to the beaches, are flocking to the restaurant. I'm seeing it because I'm picking up from the restaurants. I'm seeing a lot of them packed. But at the same time, they can't have as many people as packed. So it's not as packed as before. And number two, a lot of people, even though they may have the freedom to go, are still freaked the F out. They're like, no, oh my gosh, they're seeing, the news. And even though they can, they're going to stay home anyway and not spend that money. And then maybe like, renew their Netflix or get Hulu or whatever. So I don't know. I think AMC is definitely going to continue to take a pretty significant hit, unfortunately.
One thing that should be noted, although this is not AMC, this is, I believe, Cinemark, because Cinemark has actually opened a few theaters in Texas, I believe. And they have like 45% or 50% capacity, something like that. And they have been reporting that even though that they are showing old movies, we're talking about Gladiator and things like that, things that you could easily watch on streaming services.
Yeah.
They have been selling out the max tickets that they have been able to for the most part for those. So, and I mean, they had similar polls and questions like, would you go to the beach? And a lot of people said, like, they had like overwhelmingly in these surveys that people would not be going back to the beaches for a while, but the first weekend that beach was open. And I even saw this with my own eyes. It just happened to be the weekend where me and my wife were getting cabin fever. It's like, let's get in the car and let's just drive along the beach. We're not going to get out and go on the beach, but we're going to drive along the beach. And the amount of people was shocking. And that was the weekend that Huntington Beach was trending, and basically people were on Twitter making fun of the Huntington Beach goers, which I think they had every right to. Like, that was not safe at all. And that's when I realized there's not going to be that much a slow uptick in getting the economy kickstarted again as originally thought. Like, the big question, though, does remain when that second wave hits. Do we get draconian and shut everything down again? I don't think the market can bear it. Or do we basically just say, hey, folks, you acknowledge the risks when you go out? I mean, and then, of course, we have like that big issue where some people just don't want to wear their masks, which I don't know where you stand on that. I personally think it's not difficult, so wear the mask. But, there's a lot of people who just don't want to do that either.
Yeah, so. I do when I'm exercising, I'll tell you that, because you can't really breathe while you're running and, all that. It's an impediment. It's actually unsafe. I don't know if you saw the article of the guy in I think it was somewhere in Asia. I want to say China, who was like running heavily with his mask, and his lung collapsed. He's still alive, but like he's gonna go. So
that's
I don't wear it, but when I'm delivering, I have to, whether I want to or not.
Right. Well, yeah, you probably don't want to be doing heavy exercising while wearing a mask. That's for certain. But anyway, folks, I am curious. What do you think? Do you think AMC's in serious trouble? Are you going to go back to the movie theaters? We would love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And